What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It has been two and a half months since I turned the camera around and talked to you guys. And even though I haven't been filming myself talking to the camera like this over the last few months, I have been filming a lot of B-roll of Martin and Steve working on the 412. A lot of progress has happened on the car. So many things are happening that I want to show you guys. Got a lot of footage to catch you guys up on. So the last video I put out on this car was about the transmission being mounted. Of course, the next step after that was to mount the engine. I'm gonna show you guys a lot of the footage here and kind of talk about what we did and why we did it. So the first step to mounting the engine was to place the engine in the car and then use shims to angle it and place it perfectly. With it placed, Martin and Steve were able to build templates to give us accurate representations of the engine mounts. With those templates built, Steve was able to accurately measure both the length and angle of the engine mounts and take them into SolidWorks to design.
In designing this, I wanted to make this engine mount look as close to being an original engine mount that Ferrari themselves would make as possible. What we do is I actually draw the engine mount and then I locate what looks like a washer, but basically that's a receiver that will go into the actual engine mount, and I get that located in space at the same angle and distance and relative to that flat flange there as this is, and then we actually will draw on the basic surface of both sides of this the profile shape that I want, and then the profile shape that I want, and then you can see this cute line here is actually what's called a guide curve, and so that basically gives you a guide for the outside shape to follow as it kind of scrolls. And so this design feature is actually called a loft. And so that allows us to basically connect two different shapes. And it basically makes a three-dimensional loft in between the two parts and connects it together. Design is complete. The next step in actually making these is I now have to set up tool paths and everything so our machine can make this.
As you guys can see, it's all bolted down to the engine mount, base plate that I made. So now I get to actually weld it into the frame. You guys didn't see this part, but we are anticipating on this engine mounts to go down with the weight of the engine. So we actually shimmed this up slightly higher, about an 1/8 inch. Because we're anticipating, once The mounts are welded. Once these shimming plates are gone, the weight of the engine is going to actually bring it down just a touch. So we already did that. So now we're making templates for the gussets.
And so, just so you guys kind of have an idea, the plan is basically the same as the transmission mounts in the back. We have kind of this three-sided box with a little front side where you can still get tools in here to take this bolt out and take the engine mount off. Our 812 engine is officially mounted. I don't know what to say after that. Where was I going? Our 812 engine is officially mounted. It looks really awesome. We're super stoked to have this first major part of the car done, to have the entire driveline mounted in the car. Everything else has to go based off of this, and everything looks really good. We're super happy with the clearance that we've created to the frame. The gussets that Martin built look really awesome. The engine mounts themselves, really beefy and strong. We've got a lot of, you guys can see it's real solid, which we're really happy with. And now that we've got that done, we're gonna be moving on to some of the other things that go onto it, such as the headers, the exhaust, the intake, and everything else.
4 to 6 days later.
So after the engine was mounted, it was decided that the next major project we wanted to tackle on this car was a frame stiffener that would replace the X-bar that we cut out to create space for the torque tube. After a bit of deliberation, Steve and Martin decided that the best way to go about this was to make an aluminum shear plate that would then be bolted onto the bottom of the frame rails and essentially act as the bottom of a box structure that the tunnel would then finish.
Going on.
Oh, of course.
Well,
The guy that welded it did a good job.
there's always a chance of whooping.
What do you guys think? Does this engine look like a perfect fit in this car? Like I said, we're super happy with the way this turned out so far. Really excited to get into the rest of the build, and we'll see you guys then.